I want to talk a little bit about the game Stellar Blade. So there's been some controversy around this game, and I want to talk specifically about the art style of Stellar Blade. You can go look it up if you haven't. You might have heard about it recently. It's the game with that lady. It's that sci-fi game with that lady with the butt. And I remember, I think it got revealed at some at like a Game Awards or something like that, and I remember talking about it and not liking the way that it looked. I think I said something like I thought the main character looked like a sex doll, which actually is actually not too far off because she's a robot, right? Like, I was kind of, I didn't even know she was a robot. I thought she was like a cyborg or something, but I was kind of on the money with that one. But that was my, like, I just got a weird, I didn't like the way that it looked. And to my surprise, I learned that the director of the game, including the art director and character designer and all that, is a Korean artist named Kim Hyung-tae. Now, I know Kim Hyung-tae's work from a bunch of other stuff that he's done. He's done a couple designs for video games. The first one I ever saw, the first game I ever saw where he did the character designs was this gacha game called Destiny Child. Not like Destiny's Child, not the Beyonce group. Destiny Child, singular. Not non-possessive. He did all the designs for that, and I just was immediately really taken by his art style and everything. He also did the artwork for a game called Magna Carta. Sorry, the correct Latin should be Magna Carta, which were these a small series of RPGs, these JRPGs on the PS2 and I think original Xbox. And every time I've ever looked at his art, I just thought it was awesome. I love the way that he draws characters. I love his fashion. And I guess specifically because of the topic at hand, I really like the way that he draws women. Like I think it's very like when he draws like attractive hot women, it really works for me. And there's a great article. It's this interview from him with him from Gama Sutra. It's kind of a funny, yeah, that's a very appropriate title. Very appropriate name. And it's this great interview about his artistic process and how I very vividly remember him talking about how when he draws he draws male and female characters with two distinct approaches. And he said when he draws a male character, or he always starts with the character's skeleton when he's sketching them out. Like what is their skeleton? And then for male characters, he then, on top of that skeleton, he draws their musculature. He draws their muscles. And for female characters, he draws their body fat. And so that leads to his male characters oftentimes being kind of like having these very hard lines and almost, like angular looking, like very sharp, kind of brickish looks to them with their shoulders or their elbows, like angled points and all that, and it's these very striking look to a lot of them. But for the effeminate characters, they're a lot more like they have like a similar kind of exaggeration, but more in the direction of being like curvaceous and like squishy and stuff like that. And I've always really liked it. And every time I see his art or something that he's worked on, I immediately pick it out because it's so distinctive. Like, look up any of his art. Kim Hyung-tae, Hyungtae, and it's this very like you can instantly pick it out. But when I saw Stellar Blade, not only did I think it looked weird, I was not able to recognize his touch, right? His style. It knowing that it's him, I can kind of see it. Excuse me. I can kind of see it, but it just, there's just a lot of like, it's never been appealing to me. And I just kind of don't like the way that the game looks with its art style. I'm not a fan of it. And I was really trying to understand why. Like, what is not working for me about this? And I think it's just the fact that his characters aren't okay, there's like the characters and then there's the environment that they're in. It's like the setting, and it's this very post-apocalypse, very urban, messed up war zone kind of sci-fi setting. And I don't think that his character designs fit very well into that. I feel like he's not great at making the mesh in there. A lot of the other stuff that I've seen from him is either like Magna Carta is this sort of unique looking kind of fantasy series, and when he draws, because I love his fashion. I think that's one of the most noteworthy things to me from him is the way that he draws the clothes that his characters are wearing. Like, there's characters from that like Destiny Child guy. I only played it for a very short time just because I liked his characters so much. But like just the clothes that they were wearing are so memorable to me. And there's designs from all the games that he's worked on that still like stick out in my mind that I still think look really cool. And then I look at Stellar Blade, and it's really cold. It's really cold, and because the designs are very like, I guess it could be that I'm just not used to seeing that from him, but they're very robotic, obviously. Robotic, sci-fi, cyborgy, techno parts, and all that. And I look at it and I feel like just his characters don't mesh very well with that kind of an aesthetic. Like, there's a weird clash there that I was watching some gameplay of it, and to me it feels like the characters almost look like they're out of place in the world because of that. I think that was the weirdness that I felt the first time I saw the game, because I just remember thinking like something just isn't meshing about the way that this character looks. She just looks weird. I think I said like sex doll looking, but that kind of like uncanny valley sort of effect, which is something strange. I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't think I've ever seen that with a video game, like a full CG video game that only appears with like with stuff in real life. But yeah, I would really implore you to go check out his artwork and compare it to what Stellar Blade looks like. This is no indictment against the game itself. I don't know, it could be cool, it could be fine. Or if you like it, this is just specifically why it doesn't work for me. I can't think of any other example where I really felt like I'm racking my brain, where I really felt like an artist's style didn't really complement the setting or the tone of what they were making. Because that's the other thing, is that this is like directed by him. This is like all driven by him. So I think it's interesting that he chose this, and I still get this kind of dissonance from the art, right? Like if it was just something he was kind of like just shoved into, I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe it was just a bad choice on the studio's part. But yeah, I'm trying. Oh, there's got it. I feel like there's, I don't know, whatever it is. It's just. I think. Well, let's see. I remember, who's the name of the Mega Man Zero illustrator? Mega Man Zero illustrator. Toru Nakayama. Yeah, I love his artwork. His stuff is great. And it's a very severe departure from the art style of kind of any of the other Mega Man series. Like, those games, like the classic series, the X series, even like the RPGs, like Battle Network and Star Force, and Legends even, like those all feel very, like there's little distinctions, right? You know, the X series it's a little grittier, it's a little edgier. Legends has a slightly how do I describe it? Like I don't know. Legends has its own kind of slightly different look. Like it's a little more anime-ish, I would say in certain ways. But they all feel like they're coming from a very similar place of being based off of Keiji Inafune's original art style, his original depiction. Like the classic series is almost like that's like the center point. That's like the guiding reference for the series. Like how does the world look? And then you jump to Zero and it's so different. I mean, just like the thin lines, the watercolors, tons and tons of little, like it has a completely different, even just design identity. Like there's all these little common elements that you'll see in those other series, like little details, like the characters' helmets will have little things like those little like ear vents. I don't know what you'd call it, the little ear circles. The big chunky gloves and boots and stuff like that. There's just these common elements, those lines that there'll just be like random kind of like lines, segments to add like little detail flourishes to certain parts of a design. And the Zero series is completely different. It looks nothing like that. But there's still an element. Like there's a spirit of the original in there because it's so bright and it's so saturated and colorful. And it still kind of retains like the energy of the original Mega Man games, of these extremely cartoony, colorful worlds, but with this kind of almost like hint of darkness or industrialism or something like that, kind of these other sort of aesthetics sort of creeping underneath. And that's why for me that still works. So I wouldn't. So for me, like something like that is a real extreme art style shift, but I never got a weird dissonant feeling from that. So I don't know why I brought it up as an example when talking about the Stellar Blade thing. I guess I just want to talk about Mega Man Zero. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any examples of like a good artist, but in a weird, like not the right pick. A good artist who was not, you didn't feel was the right pick for a certain tone or a certain work, or I guess in this instance, an artist who picked something that maybe you don't think gelled with their art style, right? I don't know. I just don't really. I haven't been interested in, despite the fact that I love his artwork and I think it's super cool and it's cool that he's directing a game. I just haven't been interested in Stellar Blade, and I think that's sort of almost disappointment with the way that it looks, and it's sort of failure to capture what I like so much about his art. I don't know. It just kind of like left me with a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Magna Carta is like, it's a very fantasy look, and then Destiny Child had like this kind of modern, urban, contemporary pop kind of styling to it that I enjoyed a lot. And Stellar Blade is sci-fi, so almost like 3 different time period eras, right?